Picture this: July 11, 2015, 8:52 p.m. Altiplano Federal Prison, Mexico, the country's most secure maximum security prison. Inside cell number 20, in the special housing unit, sits Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the world's most powerful drug lord, leader of the Sinaloa cartel, and one of the most wanted men on the planet. Guards check on him every hour through the cell's security camera. He's sitting on his bed. Everything looks normal. At 8:52 p.m., El Chapo stands up, walks to the shower area in the corner of his cell, the one spot not visible on camera, and vanishes. Guards don't realize he's gone for 30 minutes. When they finally check his cell physically at 9:22 p.m., they find it empty. In the shower floor, there's a hole, a perfectly cut, 50 by 50 centimeter opening leading down into darkness. El Chapo has escaped, again for the third time. But this isn't a simple prison break. This is an engineering marvel. Beneath that hole is a tunnel, 1.5 kilometers long, running from the prison to a small house miles away. The tunnel has lighting, ventilation, and a motorcycle mounted on rails to transport people and supplies. This tunnel took months to build. It cost millions of dollars. It required dozens of workers, engineers, GPS coordination to ensure it ended exactly at El Chapo's cell, and it was built right under the noses of Mexico's federal prison system. This is the story of El Chapo's third and most spectacular escape, a prison break so audacious, so elaborate, that it embarrassed the Mexican government, shocked the world, and proved that even in the country's most secure prison, the world's most powerful drug lord could simply disappear into thin air. Let me take you through the life of El Chapo, his previous escapes, and how he pulled off the most elaborate prison break of the 21st century. Joaquin Archivaldo Guzman Loera was born in 1957 in La Tuna, a small poor village in the mountains of Sinaloa, Mexico. His childhood was brutal: poverty, an abusive father, no education. By his teens, Guzman was already involved in the drug trade, growing marijuana and opium poppies with his father. But Guzman was smart, ruthlessly smart. He wasn't content being a farmer. He joined the Guadalajara cartel in the 1980s, and quickly rose through the ranks. When that cartel fractured, Guzman formed his own, the Sinaloa cartel, and he became a legend. By the 1990s, El Chapo, Shorty, nicknamed for his 5'6" inches height, was one of the most powerful drug traffickers in the world. The Sinaloa cartel moved cocaine, marijuana, methamphetamine, and heroin by the ton into the United States. Billions of dollars, massive violence, bribes reaching the highest levels of Mexican government and law enforcement. El Chapo was a ghost. He moved constantly, living in remote mountain hideouts protected by armed guards and corrupt officials. He was untouchable, until 1993. On June 9, 1993, Mexican authorities finally captured El Chapo in Guatemala. He was extradited to Mexico and sentenced to 20 years in Puente Grande maximum security prison. But El Chapo didn't plan to serve 20 years. He immediately started bribing guards, prison officials, even the warden. He lived in luxury inside the prison, ordering food from restaurants, holding parties, having female visitors. The prison became his palace. And on January 19, 2001, El Chapo escaped. How? He hid in a laundry cart and was wheeled out of the prison by a guard he'd bribed. Just like that, he was gone. For the next 13 years, El Chapo was a fugitive. He ran the Sinaloa cartel from hiding, becoming even more powerful. The cartel's reach expanded. The violence increased. El Chapo became a folk hero to some, a monster to others. Forbes listed him as one of the world's most powerful people. But Mexican and U.S. authorities were hunting him. In February 2014, after a massive operation involving Mexican Marines and U.S. intelligence, they found him hiding in a condo in Mazatlan, a beach city. He was captured without a shot fired. This time Mexico wasn't taking chances. El Chapo was sent to Altiplano Federal Prison, the country's newest, most secure facility, built specifically to hold high-risk prisoners. 24-hour video surveillance, guards everywhere, isolated location, electronic doors, multiple security perimeters. Mexican officials declared, El Chapo will never escape again. He'll serve his sentence here, then be extradited to the United States. El Chapo had other plans. The moment El Chapo arrived at Altiplano in February 2014, he began planning his escape. Not by bribing guards this time. The scrutiny was too intense. No, this time he'd need something far more elaborate. He'd need a tunnel. Cartel engineers were recruited, GPS experts, miners, construction workers. The plan: dig a tunnel from a small house or warehouse outside the prison, underground, directly to El Chapo's cell. The tunnel would need to be over a kilometer long, deep enough to avoid detection, reinforced to prevent collapse, and equipped with lighting and ventilation. And it would need to end exactly at El Chapo's shower, the one blind spot in his cell's camera coverage. The engineering challenge was immense. Altiplano Prison is huge. Security patrols the perimeter constantly. How do you dig a tunnel without being detected? How do you remove tons of dirt without anyone noticing? How do you pinpoint exactly where El Chapo's cell is from a kilometer away underground? The cartel had resources, millions of dollars, corrupt officials providing blueprints and GPS coordinates, workers willing to risk their lives. Construction began sometime in late 2014 or early 2015. The tunnel's entrance was in a small house in a rural area, about 1.5 kilometers from the prison. Workers dug down 10 meters, about 30 feet below ground level, then began digging horizontally toward the prison. The tunnel was approximately 1.5 meters high and 75 centimeters wide, tall enough for a person to walk through slightly hunched. The walls were reinforced with wood beams to prevent collapse. Lights were strung along the ceiling. A ventilation system pumped fresh air. And here's the most incredible part. A motorcycle was mounted on metal rails, like a train track, allowing it to travel back and forth through the tunnel, transporting people and supplies. This wasn't a crude escape tunnel. This was a sophisticated underground railway. For months workers dug. Tons of dirt were removed and disposed of secretly. The tunnel slowly extended toward the prison. Engineers used GPS to ensure they were heading in exactly the right direction towards cell number 20 in the special housing unit. Inside the prison, El Chapo waited. He knew the tunnel was coming. He just didn't know when it would arrive. July 11, 2015. After months of construction, the tunnel is complete. It ends directly beneath the shower area of El Chapo's cell. Now comes the final, most dangerous step, breaking through into the cell. Workers beneath the prison floor use jackhammers and cutting tools to create a 50 by 50 centimeter hole in the concrete and tile of the shower floor. They have to do this quietly enough not to alert guards, but quickly enough to get El Chapo out. At approximately 8:50 p.m. the hole is complete. El Chapo, waiting in his cell, sees the floor of his shower open up. Below is a ladder leading down into the tunnel. At 8:52 de la noche, El Chapo climbs down. He descends the ladder into the tunnel. It's lit, ventilated, and has a motorcycle waiting on rails. El Chapo gets on the motorcycle, or perhaps rides as a passenger, reports vary, and it travels the 1.5 kilometer length of the tunnel, carrying him away from Altiplano Prison. Above ground, guards are watching the security camera feed from his cell. They see El Chapo walk to the shower area, then he disappears from view. The shower is a camera blind spot. They assume he's showering. They'll check on him in an hour as scheduled. El Chapo is already a kilometer away. At 9:22 p.m., 30 minutes after El Chapo entered the tunnel, guards conduct a physical check of his cell. They open the door. The cell is empty. They rush to the shower area and find the hole. They look down into the tunnel and realize what's happened. Alarms sound. The entire prison goes into lockdown. Mexican authorities are notified immediately. Within minutes, police and military are dispatched to search the area around the prison. But El Chapo is gone. The tunnel exits in the small house 1.5 kilometers away. By the time authorities arrive, he's already left in a vehicle, heading into the mountains. The manhunt begins. Roadblocks are set up. Airports are put on high alert. The United States offers a $5 million reward for information leading to his capture. But El Chapo has vanished. The Mexican government is humiliated. The prison director is fired. Guards are arrested for possible complicity. President Enrique Peña Nieto faces international embarrassment. How could Mexico's most wanted criminal escape from the country's most secure prison? The tunnel becomes international news. Journalists are brought to the prison to see it. Photos and videos spread worldwide. The perfectly engineered tunnel, the motorcycle on rails, the hole in the shower floor. Security experts are stunned. This wasn't a desperate, improvised escape. This was planned meticulously over months. It required engineering expertise, construction skills, GPS precision, and millions of dollars. Estimates suggest the tunnel cost $10 million to build. Dozens of people were involved, and somehow, despite months of construction directly beneath a maximum security prison, no one noticed. How is that possible? Two reasons: money and fear. Money. El Chapo had billions. The Sinaloa cartel could afford to pay whatever bribes were necessary. Construction workers, corrupt officials who provided prison blueprints, people who stayed silent, all were paid. Fear. The Sinaloa cartel was ruthless. Anyone who talked, who reported suspicious activity, risked being killed along with their entire family. Silence wasn't just incentivized, it was survival. For 6 months, El Chapo was free. He hid in the mountains of Sinaloa, moving constantly between safe houses. Mexican Marines and U.S. DEA agents hunted him relentlessly. On January 8, 2016, acting on intelligence, Mexican Marines raided a house in Las Mochis, Sinaloa. A gunfight erupted. 5 cartel members were killed. El Chapo and his lieutenant fled through, you guessed it, another tunnel beneath the house. They escaped into the city's sewer system, emerging through a manhole, but police had the area surrounded. El Chapo stole a car, but was quickly caught. 6 months after his spectacular tunnel escape, he was captured again. This time, Mexico didn't wait. On January 19, 2017, exactly 16 years after his first escape, El Chapo was extradited to the United States. He was sent to the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York, one of the most secure facilities in the U.S. In 2019, after a 3-month trial, El Chapo was convicted on all counts: drug trafficking, money laundering, weapons charges, and leading a criminal enterprise. He was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years. He's currently held at ADX Florence in Colorado, the U.S. federal supermax prison, where the most dangerous prisoners are kept in near total isolation, no windows, 1 hour of exercise per day, in a small concrete cage, 23 hours a day alone in a cell. El Chapo will never escape ADX Florence. There are no tunnels here, no bribes that reach high enough. He'll die in that cell. But his 2015 tunnel escape remains legendary. It's been called the most elaborate prison break of the modern era. It's inspired movies, documentaries, and TV shows. It's become a symbol of El Chapo's power and the corruption that enabled his empire. Let's talk about what that tunnel represents. It's not just an escape route, it's a monument to the power of drug cartels in Mexico. The fact that a tunnel could be built beneath a maximum security federal prison, over months involving dozens of workers, costing millions, without being detected, shows how deeply cartel corruption penetrates Mexican society. Guards were likely bribed. Officials looked the other way. Local residents who might have noticed construction activity stayed silent out of fear. The cartel operated with impunity. This is the reality of drug trafficking in Mexico. Cartels like Sinaloa have resources that rival small nations. They can build submarines to smuggle drugs. They can bribe governors, generals, police chiefs. They can construct 1.5-kilometer tunnels beneath prisons. And the violence is staggering. During El Chapo's reign, tens of thousands of people died in cartel violence. Journalists were murdered for reporting on cartels. Politicians who opposed them were assassinated. Entire towns lived under cartel control. El Chapo himself is estimated to have been responsible for thousands of deaths, rivals, informants, innocent people caught in the crossfire. He wasn't a folk hero. He was a mass murderer. But to some in Mexico, especially in Sinaloa, El Chapo was Robin Hood. The cartel employed thousands, built schools and roads in poor villages, provided money when the government didn't. This moral complexity makes the drug war so difficult. Today the tunnel still exists beneath Altiplano Prison, sealed off. It's become a bizarre tourist attraction. Officials occasionally bring journalists and film crews to document it. The small house where the tunnel entrance was located has been demolished. The workers who built it have vanished, likely paid off and told to disappear, or killed to ensure their silence. El Chapo sits in ADX Florence, 23 hours a day in a cell, likely never to see daylight again. His empire continues without him. The Sinaloa cartel is still one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the world, now run by his sons and other lieutenants. And the drug war continues. More violence, more deaths, more corruption. El Chapo's capture didn't end it. It barely slowed it down. But that tunnel, 1.5 kilometers long, with lights and ventilation and a motorcycle on rails, remains a testament to what money, desperation, and engineering ingenuity can accomplish. It's a reminder that even the most secure prisons can be breached if enough resources are dedicated to the task. El Chapo escaped from a laundry cart, then from a tunnel beneath the most secure prison in Mexico. He evaded capture for 13 years after his first escape, and 6 months after his second. But there will be no third escape. Not from ADX Florence, not from the United States. El Chapo's days of tunnel escapes are over. He'll spend the rest of his life in a cell, alone, remembering the nights he vanished through holes in the floor, while the world watched in disbelief. July 11, 2015, 8:52 p.m. El Chapo walked into a shower and disappeared through the floor. For 30 minutes no one noticed. By the time they did, he was already a kilometer away, riding a motorcycle through a tunnel that shouldn't have existed. It was the most elaborate prison break of the modern era, and it won't happen again.